the young and the restless spoilers shock. Summer couldn't help but feel a surge of exhilaration as she was officially announced as the new CEO of Glissade, replacing Audra. This was a significant milestone in her career, and she was determined to excel in her new role. The opportunity was immense, and Summer was ready to prove her worth. However, not everyone shared in her enthusiasm. Kyle, her husband, was deeply unsettled by the decision to oust Audra. He found himself at odds with Victor Newman, the patriarch whose influence and power loomed large over Glissade and many other ventures. Kyle's dissatisfaction simmered until it finally boiled over into a confrontation with Victor. The two men faced off in Victor's expansive office, the tension between them palpable. Kyle voiced his grievances, arguing that firing Audra was a mistake. Audra had been competent and dedicated, and her abrupt removal seemed unjust. Victor, however, remained unmoved by Kyle's protests. Audra's time here is over, Kyle. It's as simple as that, Victor stated coldly, his steely gaze unwavering. Kyle, driven by frustration and a sense of injustice, pushed back harder. This is a mistake, Victor. We need stability, not this constant upheaval. How can you expect the company to thrive when you keep making these arbitrary decisions? Victor's patience wore thin. He leaned forward, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. If you don't like the way I run things, you know where the door is. You're free to leave anytime. Kyle felt a sharp sting at Victor's words. The realization hit him hard. He was little more than a pawn in Victor's grand game, a mere tool to be used and discarded at will. The man he once admired now seemed more like a tyrant, ruling with an iron fist and little regard for those who served under him. Deeply wounded by Victor's callousness, Kyle understood that he needed to reassess his position. He had spent too long in Victor's shadow, acting as his loyal subordinate. It was time for a change, but was it too late for Kyle to reclaim his autonomy and carve out his own path? Victor, seething with anger, did not hesitate to make an example out of Kyle. You're fired, Kyle. You're no longer of any use to me. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Kyle stood in stunned silence, the gravity of his situation sinking in. He had been cast aside, just like Audra. The two of them, once integral to Glissade's operations, were now out in the cold. Kyle knew that they needed to regroup and approach their futures with a clearer, more strategic mindset. As Summer settled into her new role, she found herself under intense scrutiny. Her rapid ascension to CEO had not gone unnoticed, and there were whispers questioning her readiness and qualifications. Summer had no prior experience leading a company of Glissade's magnitude, and her appointment seemed to many as a placeholder rather than a permanent solution. Nick and Phyllis, Summer's parents, were quick to voice their concerns. They had both experienced Victor's manipulative tactics firsthand and understood the perilous position Summer was now in. Summer, you need to be careful, Nick cautioned. Victor doesn't play fair, and he's always looking out for his own interests. Don't let yourself be used. Phyllis nodded in agreement, her expression serious. You're walking into a lion's den. Keep your guard up and don't trust Victor too much. He'll turn on you the moment you stop being useful to him. Summer appreciated their concern but felt a determination to prove herself. She believed she could navigate the treacherous waters of corporate leadership and emerge stronger. However, the warnings from her family lingered in her mind, a constant reminder of the dangers she faced. In the days that followed, Kyle and Audra found themselves grappling with their new reality. They had both been integral parts of Glissade, and their sudden ejection left them with a mix of bitterness and a resolve to rebuild. They needed to move forward, but how? For Kyle, the path ahead was fraught with uncertainty. He knew he had to distance himself from Victor's influence and start anew. The experience had been a harsh lesson, but it also provided clarity. He needed to forge his own path, one where he could establish his identity and worth without being overshadowed by Victor's domineering presence. Audra, too, faced a challenging road. Her professional reputation had taken a hit, but she was determined to bounce back. She began networking and exploring new opportunities, refusing to let the setback define her career. As for Summer, she immersed herself in her new responsibilities. The weight of her role pressed heavily upon her, and she knew she had to prove her detractors wrong. Despite her lack of experience, Summer was resourceful and resilient.